Selling your mineral rights can be overwhelming if you don't know what to expect. Terminology you've never heard before, negotiating with a buyer, and the pressure to make the right decision without knowing all the facts. Today, I'm gonna give you a few pointers on how to get the best possible price and how to protect yourself through the mineral sales process. Let's talk about it. Howdy folks, my name is Stephen Hatcher and I'm the creator of Minerals Guy. On this channel, we share tips on minerals management, mineral valuation, and how to achieve maximum value for your mineral rights. I'm a professional mineral buyer and I have over a decade of experience buying, selling, and developing oil and gas properties all across the country. My business acquires thousands of acres of mineral rights every single year and we pay out millions to mineral owners just like you. So I'll start with a word of warning. Mineral buyers are a dime a dozen and I lump them into two categories. There are good guys and bad guys. It's that simple. There are quality groups out there with solid reputations and high ethics, and then there are bottom feeders who prey on mineral owners. So before you go down the mineral sales path, there are a couple of things that you want to make sure of. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, you have to know what you own. If you don't, you are flying blind and you're leaving yourself open to being taken advantage of. We have a ton of free content on this channel to help you find out things like how to determine how much acreage you own, how to locate your mineral properties on a map, and how to research oil and gas activity in your area. I always try to see the best in people, but you have to keep in mind that not everyone is going to be honest with you about what you own and about activity in your area. Don't count on them to show you your property and wells on a map. And while some groups may not overtly lie to you, they may do so by omission, right? By not telling you about important factors that impact the value of your mineral rights. So the second thing that I'll tell you is that you should always assume that the buyer knows more about your property than you do. So when you're selecting a group to work with, look for straight shooters, no BS. You want to work with a buyer who's going to share all the facts about your property and give you a fair and honest price. Now, you also have to watch out for folks who are making big promises or offers. Take everything that you hear with a grain of salt. The people who are offering the most may not be the most legit. They may be able to get you under contract for that price, but they may not have the wherewithal to show up at the closing table and write you that check. In fact, I'm currently working with a gentleman who owns minerals in Weld County, Colorado. He owned a great property underneath a bunch of drilling permits, and he got a top dollar bid that he thought was legit. Come to find out, it was a bait and switch, and the buyer had the right to adjust the purchase price down after he signed the agreement. So be careful and trust your gut. So what does the sales process look like? So the first thing that we do after you get in touch is we're gonna have a really simple conversation. We wanna hear your story. How did you come to own the land? Who did you inherit it from? Is it a piece of property that you bought 20 years ago, or did you inherit it from your mom or your dad? And we're gonna ask you specific questions that help us to identify the tract, figure out how big it is, and exactly where it's located. So once we have all this information, we have a very powerful map that allows us to see every single oil and gas well in the country. So the next step is for us to locate your property on our map so that we can figure out whether it's even a good fit for us. We get inquiries every single week from folks all across the country, and not every property is a good fit for us. If your minerals are producing, we're also gonna ask for a copy of your most recent check stub. A lot of folks are hesitant about sharing this information, and for good reason, they should be. So why do we need them? So we use them to identify your specific wells and the decimal interests that you own in each of those wells. Your decimal interests represent your piece of that oil and gas pie, and we can use those figures to back into the amount of acreage that the operator is crediting you with. So the check stub helps us to confirm that we've captured and calculated all of your interests correctly. Once we have a thorough understanding of what you own and where it's located, then we can perform our valuation. And we do not use back of the envelope math to value your minerals. We use state-of-the-art reserve modeling software to forecast the value of your existing wells, as well as wells that could or will be drilled in the future. We then use that model to come up with a purchase price that makes sense for us and for our partners. And once we get to this part of the process, we'll share our map with you. We'll show you all the activity in your area, and I'll even tell you how many wells I think are gonna be drilled in the future. A lot of times we don't end up making people offers, so we're pretty selective about what we buy. But if we are interested in your property, we'll present you with an offer. And while we can't guarantee that we are always the highest offer, in most cases, we are very competitive. But what we don't do is rip people off. At the end of the day, you're the mineral owner, you are in the catbird seat, as I like to say, and you are not obligated to say yes. But if you do, here's what you can expect after you accept our offer. The process for selling minerals is very similar to selling a house. The first step is the purchase agreement. The purchase agreement is a promise to purchase, and it's gonna set out all the terms of our deal. The purchase price, how much acreage you're selling, due diligence, when the closing is gonna happen, et cetera, et cetera. And once the purchase agreement is signed, we have a deal. And at that time, my team is gonna allocate resources to do a full title review of your property. Basically, the title review is going to prove that you own those mineral rights. And once we're done with the title review, we're gonna be ready to close. We can send an ACH, wire the funds, or some folks prefer a good old-fashioned check. Once the funds are sent, the deed is going to be recorded in the courthouse and the transaction is complete. If you want to work with someone who will shoot you straight and you want to know the real value of your mineral rights, click the link below.